Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Coming at you with a trifecta this week. We had Monday morning news. Now we got Grid Legends. We got a fun review or fun interview to end the week that I think you all are going to really enjoy.
Definitely not a review.
Yeah, definitely not a review. Probably the opposite. It's an interview discussion. But nonetheless, today though, we are reviewing I'll say controversial, for lack of a better term.
Hyped up.
Yeah, well.
Hyped up.
Okay. So nonetheless, we're talking about Grid Legends. It's a port of a flat screen racing game made by, a developer company called Codemaster, but it's EA. It's owned by EA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's published by EA as well. And, I was going to debate a little bit on hyped up because this game just kind of dropped out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, when word got put out that it was going to be in VR in like hours, more or less.
Yeah, it was
what
like
it
next
really
week.
was. Yeah, there was like some mad excitement for it. I mean, I own it on Xbox, so it's like, this is going to be crazy.
But there were a couple warning flags with it. First one being no word of it, no marketing on it. All of a sudden it was coming out.
No.
And nobody was really getting early access.
No early access.
Which is always a red flag too.
Like even the real heavy hitters they'll get early access for everything. They were even not getting their hands on it.
Yes, in our minds, we're not those heavy hitters. We still think we know our place in the world, we'll say.
The food chain is good though.
But nobody really had early access, no real marketing, and the game dropped, and it had quite the shock factor, I'll say, of really bad graphics. I mean, there's really no other way to say it. Just bad resolution, kind of just potato graphics, for lack of a better term. But something that I will stand on and die on this hill is that the gameplay of this game, despite, bad aesthetics,
Its visual shortcomings.
which it's very shortcomings. The gameplay itself as a racing game is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, okay. And I know we're on record of even saying it, but my biggest concern with it wasn't, I don't even think it was going to be the graphics. It was going to be the functionality of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've only had like a couple of experiences of driving a car in VR. And
Most of them haven't been good.
You can get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like anything, but the expectation for a racing game is like, especially if you played them your whole life on computers and flat screens, are you going to be able to pull off those mechanics? Can I yank my e-brake around a corner? Can I spin out? So that was my biggest concern. And I'll say they really, really, really did well with that.
But something I want to emphasize, though, it's important to say is, we talked about it a little bit in our early impressions on Monday Morning News the other week, but there's not VR driving controls in the sense that you're not grabbing the wheel.
No.
You don't grab the stick. You don't change gears like that or anything.
I punish them for that, though.
Yeah.
Admittingly.
We'll get to that, but all the driving's done pretty much like it's flat screen. It's you steer with the thumbstick. You drive with the trigger, like you gas with the trigger, and then you brake or back up with the other trigger.
Yeah, you e-brake it with the A button.
Mm-hmm. Then that's really it. There's no, like I said, like grabbing the wheel with your hands or anything like that, which really bothered me the first time we fired it up. I don't know what to expect yet. I hear some people saying some things about bad graphics, but I'm always one of those. I need to see it myself. I go in there, I look at my side mirror. It's etch and sketch drawn on there. The whole graphics are really bad. And I'm like, oh no, there's no VR controls. But I will say when I'm mid race, I don't really care how bad the graphics are because I'm focused on racing. And I got over very quickly the lack of VR controls. It actually created a very casual, chilling experience.
What choice did you have?
That's true. I guess if I had a toggle, that would be nice.
I'm not going to forgive them for not adding any sense of VR controls. It literally felt to me like I'm playing a flat screen game, and it put a smile on my face in a way because I'm like, okay, so GTA is going to work in VR. There's
worst case,
doubt.
That's how they would do it.
Yeah,
worst case.
If this is the worst case scenario where I just play it like this and I have no VR controls, well, I'm already numb to it because of this game.
And it really didn't ruin the experience. I think it would have been better with VR controls.
No,
absolutely.
it doesn't ruin it. I think we'll both agree, probably unanimously, that the actual gameplay element of it is they brought a lot to the. Before we get carried away, though.
Oh my goodness! Did I not go over the ratings, reviews, and
you
cost?
did not.
Oh my goodness. I did say it was developed by Codemasters, which is EA, and published by EA. But the game is $29.99 on the official MetaQuest store. Just came out January 12th of this year. It's 31 gigabytes on the Quest store. So you long-time 64 gigabyte OG users, clear up some space if you want this one. It's rocking a 3.2 overall.
Which is an improvement.
Yeah, it did hit a little lower than that before we got to this review. And, it's got 351 total ratings with 235 written reviews. But, there's an interesting breakdown of this. It's a very, hot or cold, love it or hate it. You see 26% of people gave it 5 stars. 26 people gave it 4 stars.
Not 4. 26 gave it 4?
Yeah, 26 gave it 4 as well. So 26 gave it 5 star and 26 gave it 4 star. And then 13% gave it 3 stars. 10% gave it 2 stars. And then at 1 star, it goes all the way back up to 25% of the people.
Yeah.
So 26, 26, 13, 10, and 25. It's like a lot on the high end and a lot on the low end. And then the middles are kind of not really too many people gave 2 or 3 stars.
No, I think some people are, I think a lot of the 5 stars are just people who are grateful to have it in VR.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the 1 stars are like,
couldn't get over the graphics.
Your graphics suck and there's no VR controls. I'm not, you just gave me a flat screen game.
Yeah, I think it comes down to how much.
With really dated graphics.
Yeah. How much can you get immersed with what they gave you? For me, I will say too also in the game that you have in your home menu, you have a story mode. You have, which is actually a really well written story. The cut screens are all like it plays on a screen with a black background because it's just what feels like a quick port in that regard.
And it's using live actors.
Yes.
So it's not using
animation,
like animated cutscene.
But they weren't bad actors either. And it was actually a really good storyline that develops really good as it goes. There's a really solid amount of missions in there. They have a career mode where like there's a rookie, there's a pro, there's a bunch of different leagues in there. And in each one, there's even more like sub breakdowns of type of cars. I don't know. As you can tell, I'm not the biggest like racing diehard. I don't know the correct terminology for these things. But there's a shit ton of different missions or races in the career mode. And then on top of that, you have a team editor where you can like edit your team, which kind of changes your rewards and your teammate racer in career mode. There's a track creator. There's a way to edit your cars in the garage. You can buy more cars and you get the money to buy cars by doing story mode or online races as well. So you can race in a private room with your friends, or you can join public rooms. And this is where it gets interesting. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see that even if you're not playing online mode, you can leave your races open to the public. And that's how it is by default. So if you have that open by default and you go do story mode or career mode, somebody looking to play online that did quick match can hop into your race. And that happened to you, I think, the other day, right? You got smoked in career mode.
I didn't even know someone was in there.
Mm-hmm. Messing with your story mode.
And then I'm like, oh shit, they passed me. And I'm like, that shouldn't be happening.
The AI shouldn't be beating me like this, not on this difficulty.
Right. And they give you actually licensed vehicles, which is important because they do have like Porsche and they have Ferrari. And I mean, there's a shit ton of vehicles. Most of them you have to unlock or you have to buy. And I would recommend anybody even if you don't care about the story, you can skip it. But you'll at least start generating enough money. Because if you go into the career mode, the reward prize is not comparable at all to the amount of money you can make from doing
story mode.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like you can, if you don't have a car unlocked, but it's a class of car that you need to use for the race, whether that's career mode or online, whatever. Example, like last night we were doing some online races with each other and we were doing a class. I had no vehicles in that class. I was like, shit, what do I do? And you're like, don't worry, they let you lend it. So I clicked it. And then even though I didn't own the car yet, I could use it for that race.
Yep.
But I don't think my like total score counts for the leaderboards or anything like that. And half my winnings go back to the game, the house.
Well, You're borrowing a very expensive race car. You're going to pay for it one way or another.
Based off the way I'm driving, I'm also crashing a very expensive race car. And I kept coming in second to you, so it's like I would get 4,000 or like 3,000 gold.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was like a cost to race and a cost for renting the vehicle. When it was all said and done, because I was coming in second, I would only gain like 800 to 1,000 gold. I was like, this is brutal. We got to do a race where I own the vehicle.
You know what's weird is you know how there's a cost every race, you know, you do, like you just said, you get your winnings and then
it takes a little bit out.
I thought it was really dependent upon how well you treated your car.
That's what my brain would have gone to. Doesn't seem like it.
No.
Seemed like it's a cost to race.
No, I did a race paid real well, and I was in I like hit a lot of shit, you know, because I'll go screaming down there, and if your car's in front of me, I'm smashing into it.
Tell me about it. You did it to me real bad.
I'm passing you one way or another, and I think it only charged me like $68 because it was in career mode, not story mode. And then I've had other races where, you know, maybe I haven't done a lot of damage, and I'm like, there's no way I did $12,000 worth of damage, but whatever.
So it might just be dependent on the.
I think it's
race
just preset. I'll have to go back and do some races and then see how much I'm winning and damaging each time.
But when you do like a online room like we were doing, it's pretty cool. You get to set the amount of different drivers besides you and whoever's else in the room in total. So like 16 total drivers. You get to select the class of car you want to do. And like you referenced a moment ago, oh my goodness, do they give you so many old cars too? A lot of old fashioned cars.
Yeah.
And then you pick your location. You know, you're going to race in Dubai. You're going to race in London, Montreal, Chicago, where you're going to go. And each location has its own unique tracks. I'd say each location has like 6 or 7 different tracks on it. And they show you the preview of what the track looks like. They show you the distance of it. And then you can select the amount of different laps you want to do. And boom, then you go from there.
AI difficulty,
yes. Which, you know, I play on some of the easier difficulties. I will admit I'm not an expert. I've never been good at racing games right off the start. I suck at them, if anything. I gave you a good fight yesterday. Yeah. Actually, you beat me by one race, like 4 seconds, but most of the time it was like by like 1.2, 0.8.
I slammed into you too.
Dude, that's the one that you beat me by 4 seconds because I was in first place last lap.
I had spun out towards the end.
And I was in first, and I was up by a good amount, and you were right on my tail, and you made me spin out so bad right near the finish line, so I didn't even have any catch-up time.
That's how I roll, man.
Like, dude, that was dirty.
Yeah, I'm not the guy that's gonna race and like not slam into people that I know are human. I'm the guy that if I were to make an argument with the game, it doesn't really give you the ability to, like, in a lot of older racing games, like almost all of them, you could take a car and push them into the wall and get their car to stop. And then you just keep going because no matter what, you're still moving faster. So it was a little easier to like pit stop somebody, like just smack their quarter panel. Where this one, it really won't fly you off the road. Whereas if you rear end them good around a corner, yeah, you can kick the car around, but I'd say flat screen race games offer more opportunity to be malicious than this one really does. It does.
Yeah, well,
even with the AI.
What's cool is that there's a lot of settings in the game. Like you can customize a lot, and not just fine tuning your car before the race, which they give you that option, you know, which I don't really mess with too much because I don't know I don't know what I need. And what track I'm doing, and like, no way. But in the actual settings of the game, there's a whole bunch too. Changing your user interface, all that stuff. So they do a really good job.
It's a fixed view, though. First person view.
Yeah, which makes sense for the VR racing.
I've seen some people ask if they could have a third person, though.
It's just because that's how they're used to playing racing games. I like it for this game. And I usually play racing games third person as well.
Yeah, I do too.
By default, though, the settings for the game, damage is visual only. So like maybe your hood will pop off or something like that, but it doesn't actually affect your driving. That's how I play. I don't even want to turn on
actual damage,
but you can. There are settings that let you affect what the damage actually does. Is it just cosmetic? Is it actually affect your car?
I'd recommend anybody first time playing it, change the setting to add the HUD into your car so you can see how fast you're going.
Yep. And all that's off by default.
Yeah.
which is weird.
I don't mind it being off by default if I can look at my dashboard and clearly see how fast I'm going.
But I couldn't.
And no, there's no freaking way.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no, you made reference to the side views.
The etch and sketch.
Yeah, your etch and sketch side view, which is putting it very mildly, I guess. There is no rear view image in any car. There is no side view
which
image
actually would
in any
be
car.
really helpful.
There is no, how like in flat screen racing, you press a button and you can look behind you. No, you'd really have to swivel your chair around. And even then, I don't want to because it's probably gray.
Mm-hmm. But that's why I have on my user interface where it shows me how close behind me the next person behind me is.
It does a good job at tracking.
But yeah, no, it definitely would be nice if I could look in the mirror and actually see that somebody was coming up on me. And it's like, dude, that's what's most painful about that mirror being so bad. It's like it has a functional use that I wish existed.
And if you drive in real life, you're going to pay attention to it. Even though there's never going to be an image there, you're still going to scan it for a second.
There's a couple times where you were coming up on me last night where I instinctively looked in my mirror and I'm like, nope, don't see anything. Damn it.
No, so that little, and I'm sure it's hard to put in there, but it would have made a difference, to actually be able to. I mean, they do the typical little red triangle behind you. So you'll know like where the position is of the car behind you, so you can try to swerve and cut them off. But it would be, if there was a rear view or side views that worked, that'd be freaking amazing.
Oh yeah, and I'm pretty sure this was on by default. I don't think I turned this on at all. It's just been on the whole time I played it. The proper drive line of like where you're supposed to drive.
Yeah, it's on by default.
So like I think a lot of racing games have this too, but it's useful because like when it's green, so it'll show where exactly on the track is the ideal spot to drive. And when it's green, floor it, but then you'll see it get darker, orange all the way to red when it's like a turn's coming up. It's time to slow down. So you can both obviously monitor the track visually just like you would in real life, but they also give you a little aiding, guiding line to kind of instruct you, which don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'll see it getting darker and I'm like, don't care, need to pass. And I really should be slowing down and I hit the wall or cause a pile up or whatever.
I'll give them credit on the green line, because if you're going into an area that's like turning red, like some of the hairpin corners,
some of those tracks,
as you slow down, the color will change of like if you slow down prematurely to the red section, it'll already start changing color to green.
Because it's red because you're going too fast.
Not a lot of games will do that. So it's like, it gives, like me personally, it gives me the ability to not have to overly slow down. I'll just slow down enough till it's like yellowish. And then I know for a fact I can hang the corner. Whereas, and here's what's weird.
So it's not just follow the guiding line, it's actual input.
Yeah, it's real time input. Like it'll flat out.
That's huge.
If you go into a corner and it's not red at all, I don't care how fast you're going, you shouldn't be able to not take the corner. Obviously, if you go into it red, yes, you're going to have issues. But as you're going into it, if you just tap the brakes, ding, 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 you'll see like the color start. And the second it hits that yellowish green, you just floor it. You're corner. Golden. Yeah. And that was neat. It's kind of like a helping aid. But normally, I don't care about them. They don't matter to me. The only reason I will never turn it off on this game is because I might not know that the road's going to turn right or the road's going to turn left because of the line of sight.
It's not, you don't have a super far line of sight.
It's a graphical issue. It's nothing to even do. There's some cars that are so low to the ground that like you're looking at the rendering clip and it's almost like looking at on a hot day when you're seeing the optical illusion of what looks like water in the horizon. It's almost like what you're looking at. Like it's all being clipped right at that spot on to your eye level. It's weird. So with the green, at least I know where the frickin' road is.
Then, yeah, I find it useful. To me, it doesn't kill immersion. I'm definitely going to keep it on personally. It helps me.
We can all agree it's not the most immersive, like, they're going into it being like, oh, I feel like I'm in a race car.
Hyper realistic. No, it's more
I'm not leaning.
To me, it's more good in the way, like, how people like old school Nintendo racing games or like an old PlayStation racing game, they get super nostalgic about it because like maybe the graphics weren't the best, but it just had really fun core gameplay. That's exactly how this game is. It's like,
tight.
I don't know. I enjoyed the game.
No, the game, I will not argue the actual gameplay, but I have noticed subtle differences of like if I were to play this game in an Xbox,
Mm-hmm.
right, and I'm sitting there playing, I'll lean as I'm driving. Like if I'm going into a hairpin corner, my body will physically lean a little. Like, oh yeah. With this one, I literally put my head back on the back of the couch, borderline put my feet up, and just put my controller one to the right, one to the left, and I just look straight ahead. I never lean.
Well, that's because of the lack of VR.
That shouldn't
controls.
be in VR.
It should be the opposite, yes. But if
You know what I'm saying?
if
It's
you
like-
had VR controls with a wheel and being able to just grab the wheel, that would add to that. Your body would be moving a lot more. Definitely, you'd be much more animated.
Oh yeah, because the belief. So it's just one of those rare cases where this VR experience isn't going to give me a better feeling than if I played it on flat screen. Because if I'm playing, on flat screen, I'm going to be leaning into corners, and so I'm obviously physically getting into it better. And I'm only doing it with the Xbox controller.
Again, that comes down to
It's really weird.
because it's the lack of VR controls. 100%.
I'm not upset about it, I
think
but
the
just
best-
call it what it is. It's a flat screen game in VR. It's if you put this on a 70-inch TV and played an Xbox racing game, you'd probably feel the same way, just better graphics.
Oh, 100%.
I'm really sour about the graphics, and partly because of those reasons, like without the green line, which is probably why it's there by default. You're not going to always know the hairpin corners. There's no way. You're not going to see the corner. You're going to be flying at 180 miles an hour. You're like, oh shit, there's a wall. No, it's just not rendered real well.
No, I agree. But I got over the graphics more quickly than I get over the lack of VR controls. In the sense that, like I said, when I'm halfway through a race, the lack of graphics, whatever. I just want to win the race. I'm so into it and focused on that. Whereas I agree with the lack of VR controls. That I play it sitting back and chilling as well. That's how that's the way to do it with this one. Whereas I think with, if you could grab the wheel and you're actually turning, it should just be an option. You should have the option of the two.
The first time we played it, I played it in the computer chair. I'll put it in the middle of the floor because I figured this is going to be great. I want to be able to if I'm going around a corner, I could picture myself in my head. I'll move the chair into the corner, swivel it to the right or left. And after the first time I played it, I'm like, I'm not moving in my chair. So that's why I started using the couch because I'm like, shit.
It is a good chilling game. Like you're just kind of like about to wrap it up. Like, all right, I'll bang out a race
I
or
wish
two.
I wish the online play was a little more robust because I've hardcore been trying to.
Do you mean in terms of user base?
Yeah, man.
Like view people online.
The best I've gotten for races, honestly, seems to be like people trying to do their career mode or
and
whatever,
probably not even knowing that they have the thing on.
And I'm thinking that's the case because I've had a couple that will quit right before the race starts.
When they see that there's a real person in there.
And they'll be like, oh, wow, there's 12 AIs and then a real person.
Fuck that.
Yep, I'm out. So it's like, yeah, it kind of bums me out.
Yeah. Because honestly, imagine this game racing 15 other people.
Yeah. Well, that's how all racing games online are.
That's how it's supposed to be.
They're freaking fun.
And this one, I think to get a 16-man online race, you would have to coordinate.
Jesus. Yeah. I don't even know how you do it.
You'd have to coordinate.
I've yet to see, even when I've accidentally hosted one, I've never had but like 2 people ever come in. So, and that might just go to look at the statistics. And out of those 26% that love it, are they playing it every day?
Are they looking for online matches?
If they're playing like I play, they,
Play a couple
think
races.
there'd be more online presence. But I'm also right now more wanting all the cars unlocked, which is just how it is. Gran Turismo back in the day, man, I'd call out of work for that game. Just gonna unlock cars all day, tune them up. I'm telling you, man, it was bad. But same thing with Need for Speed.
Well,
Wasn't calling out.
That is one area they do good in this is the amount of different cars to unlock. And
oh yeah, keep you occupied.
I won't give a spoiler on my score for the category, but they do a good job on replayability between the story, multiplayer if you have a friend to play with, because chances are you're not going to find a group online, and then that career mode. Like the amount of time it would take to actually beat that career mode with all those different races, and
Well, yeah, and plus you got more.
like there's a lot in the career mode.
And you also have like different upgrades that you can do overall for your team,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot.
Yep.
There's a
To
lot
improve
in
your
there.
teammate.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. So I don't know.
So
the
they
replayability to me is coming down to one's willingness, because it should have great replayability. It's a freaking car racing game, but it comes down to
we got the podcast
who's trying to go over me.
Yeah,
I
he
felt
tried-
so bad. He was going to jump on the mixer.
Yeah, he was about to jump on the table and get up. I couldn't believe it. But
So it's like, what are they bringing to the table to make that racing enthusiast want to come back and play it? That's where it's going to be a struggle.
well, you know what's
I can
interesting?
play on my Xbox and it's more fun or just as fun, but with better graphics. Where do you think I'm going to be playing racing games?
Well, you know what's interesting? Because I'm not a racing game guy. Like, I don't play racing games. They're not my favorite genre at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the racing game aficionado or
I'm a
anything like
snob.
that.
I'll admit it.
On the other end, this is one of the few racing games I've ever played that I can see myself just casually going in and playing. Isn't that weird? Because of the story mode, the career mode. To me, it's real easy to pick up, and a story mode race or a career mode race takes 4 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes, 4. So I can go in there, I can bang out, 5 races in a half hour.
I'll
Fuck
definitely
yeah.
keep playing it until I've unlocked all the cars.
Mm-hmm.
But if the online presence doesn't improve,
That's the
then
killer.
I will. All right, I've got all the cars. I'll still own the game. Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
ready to go if it ever becomes popular.
Mm-hmm.
But again, 26% and 25% love it. Where are they?
Probably not playing online. They're probably playing
Yeah.
career mode with their
And
toggle
it's
off.
possible too, and that's one of the issues with
I wish you
games
could
like
see
this.
the total amount of people on, not even searching for a game.
There was probably a reason why we don't. But no, one of the true things with games like this that has so many unlockables is
Yeah.
there is a percentage that will not play online until
Until they-
they've unlocked everything.
Mm-hmm. So we don't know how many
So,
people are actually
Again,
just,
you look at the 50% that love it,
maybe they are playing.
how
lot.
many, so to me, it's just, what's the long term of it?
Is it going to be a Medal of Honor effect where fun single player, but no online stops it from staying alive? Or is this going to maintain,
That was
survive the
another-
test of time?
Just another example of a
Mm-hmm.
really good studio somehow not pulling it all together like you
Well-
think they would.
Well, this one's different to me because it's not buggy. I have no glitches in it, no functionality issues.
No, it functions really well.
It's the graphics and it's the lack of VR integration. I think even if they kept the controls that they have now, but as an option in the menu, so you would go, do you want realistic VR controls or standard controls? And then you can toggle the two. Most people would go with the VR controls because I think if you ask people, they really want that. I wonder which one's a higher priority for the consumer, the graphics or the controls? I'd say the controls.
Yeah,
I
would
don't know.
I would take the controls right now as it stands over the
Mm-hmm.
graphics because I just don't see that changing.
Yeah, me neither. But the lack of VR controls is really like
Which is weird because there's more power available now. So
Mhm.
maybe, just maybe what we're really looking at is like, look, it can't do any better, But I'm not in that world department to know that shit. It could have been done better.
I forget the name of it. I think it's ASW. I think it's Application Space Warp or something like that.
Mm.
It's called ASW. I was going to Google it, but I can't find my phone or anything anywhere. It's something Meta put out maybe like 6-7 months ago that it allows them to kind of like artificially enhance frames per second.
Mm.
But there's some negatives to it. You can get some artifacts is what they call it, which would be like things kind of in your peripheral that shouldn't be there for just a quick description. But not many games have taken advantage of ASW, but Grid Legends does. Like, I think without ASW, I think it's running at like 20 something frames per second, but then ASW gets it up to the 60s.
No, that's not good.
Well, that's the point of ASW though. So it's doing its job.
But yeah, okay. We've been trying to actually place like what year these graphics are comparable to.
You actually talked me up because I was sitting there being mean saying PlayStation 2, and you're like, it's not PlayStation, it's better than PS2.
Well, here's the thing. I was, for some reason, and I don't know why, but
Or did we have
Xbox has remember James Bond GoldenEye?
Mm-hmm.
It's 20 years old.
Mm-hmm. They just pumped out a
They
remaster.
they enhanced it, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, it's part of their cloud games. I'll try it.
Yeah, I imagine it looks exactly the same.
20-year-old graphics.
Yeah.
I'd put Grid Legends within the 15 to 20-year-old graphic range.
You're putting it up there with the graphics that are on the Goldmaster.
The current remastered 20-year-old game.
GoldenEye? I said Goldmaster.
Goldmaster.
Yeah.
GoldenEye, yeah. It's pretty, that was pretty comparable. And I'm like, that's 20 years.
Oof.
And now granted it is remastered.
Mm-hmm.
So they did tighten it up. It's not, as bad as it used to look, even though everyone thought it looked great at the time.
Well, here's how you know that they missed their mark. All right. You're a racing game snob.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a racing game snob. I don't enjoy racing games.
Every Need for Speed, every Gran Turismo when I own PlayStations.
For you seem like, we'll hear it in the final review. You don't need to give spoilers, but it sounds like you have a little bit more of a meh attitude to it. Whereas me, as a non-racing game, I'm like, or non-racing game fan, I'm like, meh, this is actually a racing game I actually enjoyed. Holy shit. So it's just, it's funny there. It should be something, a racing game should be enjoyed by racing game fans, not the non-racing game fans.
That's where.
But I think they did a great job with the amount of different game modes, the amount of different cards, the currency,
I'll even give them a lot of credit.
The story mode. The story mode was great. Great story.
You're not going to suck me into a story unless it's really good. And this one, like, if I were to describe it like a movie, I would say, look, it's going to be a slow start, but get over that hump, and then, it'll start all coming together. And because at first I just thought they were lame cutscenes. I'm not going to lie. I didn't really, even though I'm in story mode, right? Go figure. I just figured it's just going to be some default shit, and I'm probably going to see it again.
Yeah, you're like a new driver on a team.
Yeah, like I know. Team
unnamed. They never show you.
But it's like,
I don't know if any of the characters are real people. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm like, are these real race guys?
I don't know. I feel
real
like
race girls. I'm like so confused. I'm like, is this guy really a mechanic in real life? I have no idea.
Like they have the Asian lady. And they're
so
like,
again,
one of the all-time greats. I'm like, oh,
I just thought that whatever cutscene I'm seeing, I'm probably going to see 3 races from now.
But
and
no,
then I'm like, oh, so okay, the story's playing out in this cutscenes, not my driving.
And you don't have a cutscene every single mission. I'd say maybe every 2 or 3.
Again, it's 31 gigs, and you're not going to tell me the game's 31 gigs.
Yeah, you
strip it of all its cutscenes, and that's like what, 8 gigs.
Yeah, there's a lot of video in there.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. They're telling a full
story. But
full story.
But what I don't know, the pacing in the story mode was good because, like I said, each mission you're looking at 3 to 5 minutes. The cutscene is at the most 2 minutes. So it's like, I don't know, you're never doing a super long race. You're never watching a freaking whole movie at once. I don't know. It's enough to keep
some nice B-level acting.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I won't say it was like,
and the award goes to no, but you know what?
But for video game actors,
it was
good.
I'd put it up there with some of the better ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
no, I'm not talking any crap.
Yeah,
they all got in character real well too.
Yeah,
I liked your little engineer, your little the
mechanic. Yeah, I wondered after it was over, and I didn't bother to check if like anybody in those scenes were actual race drivers, because it'd be funny if they actually were.
Well, if they were, then they're good actors too. Like they got into character good, which would probably be easier for them to act in than like being a superhero, because it's like, well, shit, yeah, that's actually what I do for real life. But acting is his own skill too. No, but the production value on it was good. I think it's a huge part of the reason that they have a 3.2 rating is because they didn't let it be known how bad the graphics were ahead of time.
Well, dude,
because you could argue then they wouldn't have sold the games, but I think that they'd have a higher rating because it's like
the enthusiast, yeah.
If you know that it's got bad graphics going into it, it's less of a shock because it's like, well, yeah, that's how it's advertised. Like look at the trailer they posted, but they did some like video effects on their trailer using in-game footage. They added some blur, they added some other things, and it made it look, and it's like, well,
the in-game footage looks better than the real game footage.
Yeah, the in-game footage they show on like the store page. Yeah, and it's like, let's just honestly oversell how bad the graphics are. So there's no shock value. I guarantee you'll have a 4.2. It's like,
I'm thinking EA's VR department is it's like a dude
Touch
in a
and go.
closet, like one person.
Well, it could be one of those things that, it's a huge company. So maybe if there's subsets
Dude,
of
EA has been around forever.
survived game crashes, like game industry crashes.
Forever.
They're such a
They
monster.
know what they're doing.
It's possible that maybe not all of the engines fully sold on VR. So even if some parts of the beast is sold,
So if it wasn't made by EA, do you think there'd be less? Think they'd have a better score? Like in the store and stuff? Or do you think EA being attached to it by name
I think so. That does
has
probably
an
create
effect on the...
it does probably create a higher expectation.
Like if this was like a 2-person team.
But I think it's also partially that there's a flat screen port, so you can say exactly what you said of, well, I can go play the same exact game with the same exact story mode with better graphics on my Xbox, and this doesn't really utilize the VR benefits. So I think there's two parts to that. There's part of it that EA's gets held to a higher standard, and any port of a flat screen game gets held to a higher standard as well.
But yeah, I mean,
not just
Green
EA.
Hell pulled it off pretty damn well.
And even then, they got criticism because they stripped down features.
Well, yeah, but overall, they did visually speaking.
Yeah, no, they did a great job with it.
They did a really good job.
So, it's a double-bladed sword with this because you have EA being held to a higher standard and you have ports in general being held to a higher standard. So that's tough. I think if this was its own racing game and had the exact same gameplay mechanics, but graphics that weren't like from a port, because it literally looks like that they took the game. If there was a settings of resolution, they went, can we go any lower? Like they just brought it all the way to the left and just brought that slider to the end.
Keep sliding.
Versus like creating a own graphical system optimized and made for VR,
Yeah, I mean, overall though, you got to figure it was
if it wasn't made by VR,
it was a very, very huge project to take on anyways with the amount of actual playable content. I would say story cutscenes aside, there is a ton of playable content.
Between the story mode missions, where there's over 30 of them, then you have the career mode with a shit ton. You have all the different cars to unlock.
This is what's really sad. If they really pulled it off so the enthusiast would show up and like stay there. And we're speculating. It's only been, Jesus, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, came out the 12th.
Yeah. So I mean,
It's been half a month.
My biggest thing with it anyways is going to be the online presence and the long term of it. If the online community is there for it, then...
Well, I'll say if you're about online gaming for this game, like if you're like, I just want to play online with other people, I don't think there's ever been a game that's as essential besides Among Us to join gaming discords, VR gaming discords, like, and hint, nudge, nudge, you boys over here, the Ruff Talk VR Discord. We have the link for that in our show notes.
I think we're the only ones in our Discord that own this game.
Probably. But if somebody was looking for I think maybe a lot of them are waiting to hear what we got to say too. Because
possible.
We were talking about getting it before it came out. But yeah, if you're looking for like other people to play with, I think you have to join those type of communities in order to be able to properly schedule a game.
At this level in it, yeah. And even then, I mean, my God.
You probably
imagine trying to put 16 people. Holy jeez.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd want that headache. I think a good like 8 to 10 would be a good number.
It'd just be nice to find a match or find a race and like you
Boom.
pop into a server and there's a ton of people in there, not like you, one other person,
in their story mode,
16 AI. Like come on.
Which that is how we played last night. Mainly.
What else you can? Well, that's because I wanted to play with you,
and I suck. But it was fun though. It was fun.
And I suck.
It was fun. It was fun.
No, I'd love to see Need for Speed. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit would be cool shit. So one person could be
I still have a theory, dude.
What?
Because this game just came out as they announced that it was coming out like in a week, right after Sony announced.
You're gonna say, yeah.
Gran Turismo 7's getting a free VR upgrade for all people who own it. If you own PSVR 2, you own Gran Turismo 7, you can play Gran Turismo 7 in VR. Which you were even saying you're an Xbox guy. You're not a Sony fan.
No.
Well, not that you hate Sony.
No,
it's just like you're not.
Choice to make on spending my money. I usually take Xbox
Microsoft
lately.
Whereas I've always gone Sony. But Gran Turismo is always the one series that you're like, oh, that's good. So they announced, PlayStation VR 2 is going to have Gran Turismo 7. Then suddenly a week later, this game was announced it was coming out. I still have it in the back of my mind. Like, was this game supposed to come out in like June or July? And the Meta was like, just fucking get that shit out there. They're pumping out Gran Turismo. We need a racing
Sony
game.
did what?
Yep. We can fix it as it goes. Just put it out there. EA's like, what the hell?
Hey, take one for the team, will you?
Yeah, look, we need a racing game. They're getting there's that 5% of me that's like, was this game not supposed to come out yet?
It could, it's not.
Because it feels unfinished.
It's not inconceivable. Yeah, it feels like there's one more batch of rendering that needs to be done.
Even in the settings, in the menu, in the interface.
So it's like, it's not out of the scope of possibility.
It looks like it exactly like one more stage.
We need to do something. Something has to be done.
It was going to go to one more group of people who are going to do the final touches on the menu user interfaces. And
not for nothing, I don't hear nobody talking about Gran Turismo 7. So
I've seen people talking about it.
okay, I haven't stumbled on nothing other than when you told me about your own comparison. But I've heard like I don't see anybody like posting. I'm all excited for Gran Turismo 7.
I see it, but I follow a lot of PlayStation VR fans too. But
yeah,
here's the thing
that I don't.
But here's the thing that I'll say too is it goes back to what I said months ago about PlayStation VR, that I think it's going to be a killer headset. It's going to be freaking awesome. The games that they run on it are going to be great, fun for existing VR users. It's going to be an amazing device. I just don't think it's going to grow the industry in the same way the MetaQuest 2 did, where it introduces it to a new group of people who had never used VR.
Yeah, no, it'll be a while before I think a company comes in and can take that.
I think the people that are playing PlayStation VR 2 are going to be existing VR fans, which is great. It's great for them to have more content. Again, yeah, I just don't think it's going to grow the industry, but
it adds to it.
I think Gran Turismo 7 is one of their strongest titles they got for launch day, though.
It's the first time I've heard of anything coming to their platform that I was like, sure wish I had me a new PlayStation.
Like they got the newest Resident Evil going to it, but I'm not huge on Resident Evil. It's not like a series that I...
honestly, they fricked with that thing so bad. There's so many Resident Evils. It's disturbing.
That's why I think Meta was smart to get with one of the old school ones with Resident Evil 4 when it was still good.
The first two that came out to this day are probably the best. I'm like,
dude, I remember playing Resident Evil as a kid.
Yeah. And then Parasite Eve was another one that was like kind of similar and like cool shit happens. You could remember in Resident Evil, you could build stuff, like build your weapons up. And then I went and I got a version years later thinking, well, it must be just like those, but just no, it sucked ass. I was so bummed. And then I look at all the free ones on Xbox and they all suck. I mean, I'll say it. I know they got a huge fan base.
Yeah, you're gonna have a bunch of Resident Evil fan.
I'll take the Resident Evil hate, but I'll stand on my my hill that 1 and 2, man. When it first came out, that was probably the greatest one. Second one was cool. Your sister used to help me play that game.
Yeah. Resident Evil's also gotten a weird, not weird, but a different turn to it versus the first couple were much more scary. Whereas now they're still scary. They're still horror based, but there's something a little bit, I don't know, more actiony than scary. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I can't figure out.
No, but hey.
I mean, actually, I haven't, in fairness, I didn't play the last one that came out for platform, which I heard was really good.
Which that's the one that's going to be available on VR for the PlayStation VR. But again, it's just like that's not a series that, like Knights of the Old Republic. I hear Knights of the Old Republic 2 remake in VR. Ugh, that's going to be hard for me to ignore.
Yeah, I don't know what effect EA doing this is going to have on maybe other big studios going, we could bring our racing game over.
Well, I think it
or
shows
are they
that
going to see it and go, well, we could do that better than that.
Well, look, a 3.2 game still got 350 reviews in 2 weeks, and I think it's because that there's a large market of Quest users that want a good racing game standalone. And I'm not proud to show this one off in footage to people and be like, look at this freaking awesome racing game in VR we got. It's not going to visually sell anybody, but at least the core gameplay we have in this is fun. It'll just be they need to add the VR controls. I think that's the big killer.
Could you imagine if the mechanics didn't work well?
If the functionality was off on this, if the functionality was even, I'll save it for my review. I'll save it for the review. Yeah. Speaking of which, you want to take a moment take a little ad break, and we'll come back with our final thoughts and review.
Yeah.
And then I won't spoil anything beforehand. All right. So like always, I always say, if you've been enjoying this episode, subscribe, rate us 5 stars. That way you get, next episode ASAP. I've been telling you it's going to be a fun interview. Also, if you've been enjoying the episode, go join our official podcast Discord and subreddit communities. Discord's a freaking party. Highly recommend going over there. And then you can also check out our Patreon for exclusive listener benefits. All right, and we'll be back with you in just a moment. This podcast is brought to you by Kiwi Design, the leader in MetaQuest and VR accessories. And now you can deck out your device while supporting the podcast. The MetaQuest 2 is a great headset, but do you ever feel things could be a bit more comfortable? Well, we have the solution for you. With lens protectors, controller grips, face covers, head straps, link cables, headset stands, and more, including my 2 personal favorites, the top version controller grips with added weight and an extended handle, and the Kiwi upgraded Elite strap. Let's be real, we've all whacked our controller. Don't be the guy messaging Oculus support for your own mistake or waiting weeks for an out-of-stock controller. Visit the link in our show notes to prepare yourself today. After visiting the link in our show notes, make sure to use the promo code Ruff Talk VR at checkout, all one word, to take full advantage of your savings. And make sure to click the link in our show notes so the podcast gets credit and you help support us. Remember, whatever you need, Kiwi has you covered.
Newsflash, gentlemen. Valentine's Day is almost here, and by the grace of Cupid, our friends at Manscaped are coming with the best tools to get your boys downstairs ready for this special occasion. I'd like to propose making February 13th National Shave Your Balls Day. Who's with me? Get lucky this V-Day. And join the 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. With our exclusive offer, go to manscaped.com and use the code RuffTalkVR for 20% off plus free shipping. Guys, if you're going to spend all that money buying your significant other roses and chocolate, make sure you give her the most important gift this year, and that would be some fresh balls. The holidays went by so quickly. Did you remember to take care of your package with the best tools for the job? The Platinum Package from Manscaped is the all-encompassing package that every guy needs in their life to make each and every day just a little more special. The headliner in this package is the Lawnmower 4.0. The trimmer's advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate parts. It even has a 4000K LED spotlight so you can shave anywhere your heart desires. Did I mention it's waterproof too? This package also includes the Weed Whacker, nose and ear hair trimmer to whack all the worst of your weeds. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts. Their Shed travel bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs to keep your boys stored comfortably. No Platinum package is complete without the ultimate hygiene bundle to get you fresh from head to toe. This bundle includes Manscaped's premium body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, Body Plus ball deodorant, plus much more. Infused with aloe vera and sea salt, Manscaped's body wash will leave your skin feeling clean, fresh, and hydrated all date night long. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code RuffTalkVR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code RuffTalkVR. Join Cupid and shoot your arrow with Manscaped this Valentine's Day.
And we're back. And you know what that means? I don't want to annoy the people multiple times every week, but I will annoy them multiple times this week. It just won't be every week. We will be at PAX East this year.
No way.
In March.
No way.
Decked out in Ruff Talk VR swag, conducting interviews. If you want to come say hi, hey, you can just walk up to us and say hi, absolutely. But let us know you're going to be there if you're in our Discord or anything.
Could even let us know who you are.
Yeah. Right? But no, I promise you won't be able to miss us. We'll have Ruff Talk VR masks, hoodies, if it's cold, T-shirts, whatever. You name it. If it's swaggable, it'll probably say Ruff Talk VR on it. And other than that, you want to go into our final thoughts and rating?
Yeah.
Do you remember who went first last week?
I did.
You did. Oh, so I lead the party this time. Yeah. All right, so we got 5 categories, each broken 1 to 20 with a total of the 5 categories, making the total score. So, I'll say that these 5 categories: gameplay, aesthetics, functionality, replayability, and value, which I'm always pretty proud of our review system. There's many times that, it's honest. it holds.
It's honest, but sometimes it can help a bad game
Yes,
and
and
hurt a
sometimes
good game.
Yep, but it's consistent, and
Yeah, it is what it is.
it takes bias away from it too, because it's like, well, I might like strategy games, but I got to be honest about the function or whatever, But and it forces us to look at each aspect. So, starting at gameplay, I'm gonna give them a 15. They would have a 20 clean because the game is freaking fun. The only reason I deduct 5 points on gameplay is no VR controls. If you just even grabbing the wheel, screw it. I don't even need to grab the stick. I don't need to change gears or nothing. Even if the VR integration is just grabbing the wheel and I still brake with the triggers, but just the ability to turn with my hands would make such a huge difference. It would have a 20 if it had those, but unfortunately it doesn't. So I'm going to give them a 15. I'm not going to deduct more than 5 because, like I said, in the end, the gameplay still is great. Aesthetics, though, I think this might be an all-time low on my aesthetics rating. I'm giving them a 5 on aesthetics. If to be honest with you, it's probably the lowest graphical game on the Quest Store besides games that are intentionally pixel art, like Ancient Dungeon. Like if you go, oh, this game's better graphics than Ancient Dungeons, it's like, well, yeah, Ancient Dungeons is going for like that Minecraft graphics. Incomparable. This is a game that went for good graphics and just, like I said, has the resolution turned all the way down. There's also oftentimes that I feel the sound in the game is very improperly balanced, meaning it'll go from very casual audio to fucking blow your eardrums out. You need to go down in the settings and turn things down just to avoid that next time and have it quiet all the other times. I've had really random spikes of it getting loud in load-ins, race starts, just really randomly, like, why was that so loud right there? We can't even hear each other in party chat anymore. So aesthetics, I'm going to hit them on 5. Functionality, you got to give credit where credit's due. I haven't had a single glitch. I haven't had any frame drops of like things getting laggy. No issues there. Not things feeling like they should work better than they don't. In fact, they give you a whole bunch of settings to like mess with your interface. There's even a way if you pause during the race, if you crash really bad and you're just stuck, you're not able to get out, you can even pause and reset your vehicle and boom, it just starts you back in the middle of the track. Like I said, a whole bunch of different customizable settings. What's weird is when you go into the controller inputs for the setting, there's a list where it says, what do you want to use as your controllers? And the only settings in there to change are the Oculus Touch controllers, but you can't change them to anything. And it's like, did they just want literally one-to-one port this that much? Or is there upcoming accessories coming? What's going on there? But nonetheless, functionality, I'm going to give them a 20. They deserve that. No glitches there. Replayability might be a little controversial, but I'm going to give them a 20 in replayability. I think that they did everything they could in terms of different game modes. Story mode, really well-written story. Good actors, like I said, well-written, engaging. Fun story mode. Awesome career mode. You have multiplayer. You can edit your team. You can do customized races. You unlock the cars. You can fine-tune them. Replayability, 20. And value, $29.99. I look at the amount of different types of cars there, each branded with licensing, and I understand why the game costs $29.99, plus the actors to make the game. And to me, maybe a little controversial, just like replayability, I'm going to give them a 20 on value as well. I think the game's worth $30. If you understand that there's bad graphics going into it, not bad graphics, I'm saying 5 out of 20 aesthetics. If you understand that and the fact that you're going to drive with your stick, I think you can easily get $30 worth of playtime out of this game between the length of the story, the career mode, yada, yada. So I'm going to go 15, 5, 20, 20, 20. I'm going to give them an 80 in total, which, yeah, maybe a little higher than some people would have expected, but
it's actually higher than I would have expected.
I think it's one of those. I'm not a racing game fan. It did terrible integration of the potential of VR in this game, but I had fun and I enjoyed it. And I'm probably going to go back into it even when we're done reviewing. Isn't that something?
It's awesome. I had fun in my home screen when I first plugged my Oculus in. It was like 20 minutes of awesome experience. I can't argue with a lot of what you said at all. We're going to differ a little bit here and there, but I give them a 15 on gameplay. Really, the only thing that, probably the biggest thing really, is the lack of VR controls. I can somewhat forgive the lack of some graphics, but the lack of both, it's like, that sucks. But I mean, it's chill, but they're definitely not getting a 20 for gameplay on it. Aesthetics, I was a little nicer than you. You know, I've actually seen worse graphics in VR, but do I have a higher expectation from EA to produce something with higher? Yeah, but I gave them a 10. You know, I can't disagree with your sound issues. It's not just you. It's freaking everybody. I could nitpick little things like, you know, before the race when you're revving the car, that it might not sound as good as you would hope or compare it to other racing games. But I give them a 10. I don't think 5's pretty brutal, man. I'm not going to lie. I mean, at the end of the day, they got an 80 from you, but whatever. But I'd give them a 10. Again, I've seen worse, but I also know where you're coming from with, like, you know, if this was like Minecraft or whatever, you visually have an expectation, but from platform game owners to play this in VR are going to go, what the hell? No, it just looked better last night, I swear. So I get that argument, but I do give them a 10. Functionality, I didn't have any glitches. I'd like it, you know, there's things I'd like I'd like to be able to spin out a car better and you not give it gravitational weight that doesn't allow that to happen with ease. But what am I being upset about? That I can't be a reckless nuisance on the on the racetrack? But I didn't have any glitches. I got stuck once, but it's only because I really 190 mile an hour into a car's rear end and went up the backside of the car and was on the wall. And but whose fault is that? So it wasn't like I was driving and the game glitched. So I give him a 20 on functionality. Nothing really special either with the aesthetics, with the background sounds or anything. So it's kind of weird. Replayability, we're gonna differ a little here. I'm gonna go 15, and I'm saying this is me saying I love freaking racing games, and usually if it's a good one, that's gonna be my jam for a while. I'm not gonna stop until I've unlocked everything. I'm not going to stop until I'm I know I'm relatively good online so I can take advantage of the online experience. But the online experience to date is really lacking, other than, a couple of people where you were nice enough to play with me. I think we both agree that the only way you're going to get that whole 16 on 16 is, join a community specific to this and find 16 people who are there and love it. But after I unlock all the cars, if that online community doesn't get real robust, I'm going to shelf it. But I'll at least unlock the cars. So for that, they get a 15. And value for money, you gave them a 20, I think. Well, I give them a 15. I think they're giving you a lot, but they're also not, if you get what I'm saying. It's again, I'll go to the, what your brain paints when you see the, first time you look at the game preview in the store and your expectation and all that. And then you've even used words like you get used to it. You stop minding it. It doesn't bother you as much as the first time you play it. So really, I'd give them a 15 for value. We've had people even ask us, should I get it? Oh my God, I can't believe you guys are playing it. Should I go get this? Not saying not to, because I would never say don't help somebody eat, but I'd wait for it to go on sale, pretty decently, $20, whatever. And that's sad because they do give you a lot of content in it, but just not enough that I felt like I got. Do I feel like I got my money's worth? No. Are there some cars that I sit in, some of the open wheeled cars, and I'm like, well, that's weird. Am I too tall for my car? because my head's kind of like in line with the trim of the top of the car. So I'll literally like sit up. So in like real world, my head would be like really sticking out of a car that does 200 and something miles an hour, which you would never do. Because if I go low, I've got that weird little screen in front of my face. So it's just, they should have done a little better, but they get a 75.
That's not bad either.
No,
75
no,
and 80?
it's not really just, and I'm really going into it with a, it's a freaking great racing game.
My replayability was so high because I think of all racing games I played, this is one of the few that I've put so many hours in. Well, granted, some of that was to review. We're done reviewing it, and I still kind of want to do a little bit more of the career,
Yeah,
So it's like
I'll definitely unlock the cars.
now I wouldn't go around telling if somebody's like, should I buy this game? I wouldn't just say yes, but I wouldn't just say no either. I'd say if you understand it doesn't fully integrate VR mechanics, and it's really bad graphics, and like I'll even 5 out of 20. That's how I put it.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand that, it's worth it.
Yeah, if you know what you're getting into. But that
Yes.
now, like, honestly, if you heard yourself, if you went up to yourself and was like, should I buy this game? Even if it was any game.
And I'd say,
And
look,
then,
the
like,
gameplay's
look, the graphics really bad, and there's no VR controls.
but the gameplay's fun.
It's going to be fun to do. And it's $30. It's
Is
like,
it?
yeah, I get the price. I mean, I do. I mean, they show you the list of
Vehicles
of
and
licensing on the
and-
bottom.
yeah.
It's substantial. It's not like, hey, we
couple.
got Coca-Cola.
Mhm.
No, it's like, and like Ferrari's not going to be like, yeah, you can use us for free, even though somehow, I'm not buying a Ferrari. They shouldn't have to pay huge rates for it. But whatever. It's not. It's just, I guess I'd just put it up there with unfortunate.
But I think that this goes in when you see those red flags, when you see a game suddenly come out with no prior announcement or marketing, and you
got
don't
nobody
see
talking about it. Yeah.
and you don't see anybody getting early access,
There's some flags.
red flags.
Yeah.
Red
I
flags.
mean,
Which in the end, I still enjoyed the experience, but I have to put the
and then the
disclaimer.
$1 million question, are there going to be updates to it?
I'm thinking it's going to be a lot like Medal of Honor.
That's what I
pump and
don't-
dump.
See, if that happens, then these really good studios are going to start getting like,
EA gets post nut panic with their releases in VR. They're fucking, they're out, gone. No updates, no
Like the
follow up
wind.
call,
We are
no
out
text message.
yeah, it's really up to them. And it sucks because a lot of people worked on it. It wasn't like a.
No, it's big teams, definitely. Codemasters, EA, big teams.
Yeah.
That's why you see the $30 price tag. Plus, like you said, the licensing and
But as an avid
racing fan.
racing fan of flat screen racing, oh man, or even Commodore 64 pole position. There you go. You want to play the shittiest racing game ever? Play pole position.
No, it would be fun to try to get a get together set up in our Discord if we have a handful of people who happen to own it. But I'm just not going to tell everybody to go rally out and get it. But if you
16?
happen to, even like 5, 6 people would be a lot of fun.
Oh, 5 or 6 would be great, but we'll see. I think that's just up to the studio to, I mean, or even some acknowledgement of something. That's what else kind of like doesn't bug me,
silence.
but it's like,
Yep.
this isn't the first time this crap has happened. and
But
silence is, you scream if you want, or they don't care.
but nonetheless, so anything else you got to say on this one? I think we've
No,
hammered this nail pretty
I got
hard.
more racing to do for sure,
Mhm.
and I will keep paying attention to the online.
I'm glad I experienced it, and I'm not curious. Glad I at least know what it's about,
Yeah,
But nonetheless,
they
so
did pull off the driving mechanics though,
like
and for Grand Theft Auto, that's
I don't mind if this is this exact same driving system without grabbing the wheel as how you drive in GTA. I
As
would
long
live
as they
with
tell
it.
you up front.
Yeah.
I don't care.
But so like I said earlier in this episode and on Monday, we got a fun interview coming for you at the end of this week. So definitely, if you've been enjoying this week's episode, subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and then you'll have this Friday's episode in your iPhone ASAP, or your Android, or your TV, or your computer, whatever the hell you listen to podcasts on, your car or whatever. Can cars download podcasts these days? I'm sure like the newest 2024 or
Why
whatever.
not? They have their own internet.
Yeah. because it's always, you plug
There's
in
some
your phone
cars that
into
are like mobile hot boxes.
Yeah, mobile hotspots like with
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and stuff. 100%. I'm
So,
so mind blown. I'm
I would
over
say
here.
yes to that.
Yeah, I got a 2009 car. I got no backup.
My
cam.
car does not connect to any computer to download nothing.
So I sound like a real. I'm very ignorant. I'm genuinely asking, can cars download podcasts these days? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
sure.
You can on your phone and then you plug it in at the worst case. That's what
Some
we
of
do.
them
in
even
this.
update via their own inner
Wild
computers
stuff.
there.
All right, but like I keep saying, stay tuned for the end of the week. And other than that, enjoy the rest of your day.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.